And then Miguel, we didn't hear from you. Okay, we'll just go ahead and get started then. So one of the first things that you can do is just sort of finding out the interest that your unit has, like sort of finding out, are they interested in a virtual camp out? And if so, what activities are they interested in? And also picking a date. So you could send out doodle polls or just send an email just to try and find out if people are interested. And at that same time, you could also ask if there's people in your unit that are interested in helping out, because it's a pretty big project and it would definitely make it easier if you got more people to help. So just as with when you're planning a regular camp out, so if you're hoping to have Cub Scouts camping outside, you'll want to try to avoid having a camp out during the rainy or cold season. Just so we want to make sure that the Cub Scouts have a good experience with camping and that they aren't having a bad first experience. And then just, try and find a date that's not a holiday weekend where people might be out of town, and avoid conflicts with school schedules. Although I know right now with COVID, there's, generally there's a lot less activities going on. So it makes it a little bit easier for planning. So there's several different options for doing a virtual camp out. So you could have it be like a Saturday, like starting in the afternoon, like noon or 2, and you could go all the way through to the next day if you wanted to, the next morning, and have a closing ceremony on the next day, on Sunday. Or you could just have it for an evening, like starting at 5 and going until till bedtime, like 9 or so. Or you could start it in the evening and go to the next morning. So it just sort of depends on how many activities you want to take on for your virtual camp out. So you'll need to think about what kind of virtual platform you want to have your camp out with. So Zoom is a great option. And then, similar to Zoom is WebEx and GoToMeeting. And other options are Facebook or Instagram Live. So we'll talk a little bit more about each of those. So for Zoom, if you have a free account, you can have up to 100 participants and you can do 40-minute sessions at a max. So if you plan out your activities so that each activity is no more than 40 minutes, you could do that with a free account. And if you wanted to be able to have longer sessions, you could purchase a premium membership. So doing one of these like Zoom or WebEx or GoToMeeting allows there to be two-way communication between you, the host and the attendees, like via chat or by them, interacting during the meeting. You can also limit the attendees or require registration so that just random people aren't showing up into your camp out. So if you were to use Facebook or Instagram Live, that would be free. Your unit would need to have a Facebook page or Instagram profile to be able to launch that. But you could reach a much larger number of attendees if you wanted to. And but for the most part, that's like public, so you can't really limit the attendees. But the participants are able to chat and like it, but they aren't able to interact like face-to-face. All right, so we're going to talk about some different activity ideas. So, these are just ideas, and then after I go through these, we're going to see if you guys have anything that you've done that you think might be good to add to this list. So a great one is getting a guest speaker, and sort of there's so many different options for who you could have. Someone like from a wildlife organization, just anybody that's an expert in a particular area. You could also lead a craft. So if you want to do a craft what you'll want to do is either you can distribute kits ahead of time that they'll use to make the craft, or you can let them know a list of materials that they'll need to have to make the craft. And usually when you're doing a craft session virtually, it's good to start out the craft over the session and then end it and let them continue to make it with their parents, because different kids take different amount of times to do crafts, especially those with special needs. And then when you come back or at the next session or at a planned time, you could have everybody come back and then share what they made. Another idea would be to have a cooking show where you're, ideally, if you had an older scout or even a Weeblo that's helping out, or maybe they're running the cooking show, maybe they could be showing how to cook something that would be easier for younger scouts to help out with. But yeah, with all of these things, especially for the Cub Scout age, it's super important to make it like really fun and interesting, and you need to be really excited the whole time. And otherwise you're going to lose their attention, especially these days when they're having virtual classes, so they're on for 6 hours a day, potentially doing school. You're going to have to really keep it interesting for them to keep them on the screen in a Zoom meeting for beyond that time. Another fun one would be just to have a dance party where you have music playing and everybody, gets up and dances around, and then they can see each other dancing. Another one would be a show and share where the scouts take turns, like sharing something, an experience that they've had, or just, sharing an item. Also, there's various games that you could play, like Kahoot or bingo, trivia. Also, a real popular one is doing some kind of scavenger hunt. Definitely during the summer at Cub Camp, that was a big hit with the kids. They really enjoyed doing that over virtually. You could also teach a dance. You could do that by showing, like, there's some different YouTube videos that are teaching a particular kind of dance, or you could have as a person teaching the dance. You could also do like an edible campfire craft where they make they're making the campfire. You're teaching like fire safety while you're assembling the different pieces of candy. You could also choose to have like an opening and closing ceremony as part of your campout, and where you're having like the scout oath and the scout law, and just sort of giving some more formality to it. If your campout is going on to Sunday morning, something you might consider doing would be like an interfaith worship service. Also, definitely the most, there's a very big part of the virtual campout is doing a virtual campfire. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a moment. And then also flag retirement is another thing that would be sort of good to do towards the end of the day, sort of to help the scouts wind down from all the excitement of the campout. Does anybody else want to share that if there's something I've missed, something that you've done with your scouts that worked well?
I wasn't able to share that for you.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, Kathy, that the dance and the bingo have been really big hits. I've seen, surprisingly, bingo, I did not realize how much of a big hit that would be for scouts. So just throwing that out there, those are great ideas.
Awesome.
A lot of fun for the scouts.
Awesome. Thanks, Deborah. Was there anybody else that had something that worked well for your unit that you wanted to share?
One of my scouts found a kind of an online game, which is pretty similar to charades. So everybody logs into this game, and we choose whoever is going to be the charades person. They're given a word and they have to act it out. And everyone guesses it. Whoever guesses it is the next person to do the actions.
Is that the, I know there's like the Scribble.io. Maybe that's a little bit different.
Yeah,
There's
Scribble.
a couple of sites that let you do that. with
That one,
different kinds of games.
it's like sort of online Pictionary.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
no,
here's
this,
the Pictionary if you share the whiteboard.
no,
And
this
it's also-
one's acting it out, not drawing it.
Yeah, similar concept though.
There's code breakers too. You can
Okay,
create a private
Marjorie,
group.
go ahead,
Sorry.
Marjorie.
Oh, I would say one thing that we did, and I think we might do it again, is there's a lot of online art classes that are free and just like YouTube videos. And so I actually distributed little paint kits to all the scouts ahead of time. And then they shared watching a video while they created their art.
Awesome. That's a great idea. Thank you, Marjorie. Another one could be like there's different tours of different museums that that like virtual tours that the unit could do together too. Was there anybody else? Okay, so let's see. So now Jason's going to talk about having a virtual campfire.
All right, so virtual campfire, I've been involved in, I guess, maybe 3 of these so far or something like that. We've done one for our pack, and then there's been a couple of council ones that we've contributed to. And the basic idea is to try to have a similar experience to a normal campfire that you do in person, but the main difference is that the content is prepared ahead of time and videos are sent in, and then everyone watches it together. So you're not actually doing the performance at the time that everyone's watching it, but the watching is a shared experience. And it uses all the same kind of things you would have in a normal campfire. You can have songs, you can have skits, you can have jokes. Any of those things are fine. We've done things where we've actually had multiple families, multiple scouts contributing to the same portion of the campfire. So you could have maybe a den, have each scout in the den do a particular part of a skit, and you sort of stitch them together. We've also done songs where we had people, singing along with the same song, and we, showed videos side by side or flip back and forth between different scouts doing the same song. So there's ways of getting, multiple people involved in the same video. And then of course you can also just do as a family something and put it in there. But it's quite a bit of fun. It requires a little bit more work than doing it in person, but I think it's a great thing to do. And the normal, I'm sure you guys probably know the normal campfire thing, but you want to like have sort of the energy starts out, fairly strong and builds up a little bit, and then you sort of wind back down, alternate back and forth between songs and skits so people don't get bored, and throw some little jokes in there like the run-ons or whatever to keep it interesting.
Maybe you can talk about how like you did like the emceeing between the different.
Oh yeah,
skits.
that's another thing. So I've seen a couple different ways of doing the emceeing part of things. So the one that I did for our pack, I went ahead and just recorded my own voiceover of that ahead of time. And so I had like black in between each of the pieces of content. There was just a black video, and then I had my voice saying, up next is this scout with this skit, and on deck is this thing, and in the hole is whatever. The normal thing you would have at an in-person campfire. There was also the council ones. I think they did the emceeing live. So basically they had black sections in the video, and they would just pause the video and do the voiceover live in between. But so either of those ways works fine, depending upon what you want to do. If you did the live one, then it's a little easier maybe to get a scout to do the emceeing if there's somebody in UoS that wants to do it. But if it's an adult doing it, recording it is pretty easy too.
Yeah, and then it'd be helpful to find someone that has some experience doing some video editing, just to be able to put the different clips together.
Right. Yeah. Like I used iMovie and didn't do anything too crazy with it. But yeah, there's lots of different video editing programs you can use.
And then just like I think I mentioned earlier on, like it's definitely good if you can get different people to take on the various activities during the camp out. If one person was to do all of this, it would be pretty overwhelming. So recruiting those volunteers early and, you know, telling them like, I think you would be really great at being a craft host. Because you know, a lot of times, as you probably all know, when you say, oh, we need volunteers, no one volunteers. So was it called being voluntold?
Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, doing it in a way that makes that person feel like they're really important, or that you know, just complimenting them on some kind of skill that you think would be useful for them to do that activity. And then, you know, just based on which activities you plan to do will sort of dictate like your schedule. And it's totally fine to have them spaced out throughout the day, so that the scouts have some downtime in between sessions, and so that they have time to eat dinner and take care of their other, you know, needs throughout the day. And then it's optional if they want to camp in their backyard. Some scouts might feel more comfortable, you know, not doing that. But definitely, you know, having that be something that you encourage would be great. So now we're going to have you guys break out into some different breakout groups if we can figure out how to do this. So in your group, you're going to have, should we just have 5 minutes?
Yeah, we're running over our original time plan. So let's try to do 5 minutes in the breakout session and then we'll come back and we'll take maybe about 3 minutes or so each group to share and tell them what they're doing. Yeah.
So as a team, you guys are gonna come up with a schedule of activities for a camp out, you know, a pretend camp out. And then each of your groups is going to share and like sort of give us a basic idea of what your schedule is and why you chose what you did. So we're just assigning those right now. So yeah, just they won't be able to see the screen, right? The main screen, I don't think.
No. So just brainstorm. You know,
brainstorm things that your group thinks are going to be the most engaging for the scouts. And then I'll pop in and see how you guys are doing. And then it should have a countdown of when the session ends. Are we putting a timer on it?
Yeah, I think. Oh, countdown timer.
How long a session should we be planning for like a 2-hour campfire, 1 hour, or like the full day or a 2-day?
That's up to your group to decide. Oh, hi, Emily. We talked about earlier that there's different options. You can do one that's just an evening. You can have one that starts Saturday after lunchtime and goes to the next day.
Okay.
Or it could be the evening to the next morning. You guys get to decide what you want to plan. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I think I've got it ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and try opening the breakout rooms now. And then you just have to click to join your breakout room.
Okay, so how do we enter the breakout rooms? Wait, did you not get Deborah in the room?
I invited her. She's not joined.
Okay.
Over there? Wait, no.
Okay, maybe you know how to get into the breakout rooms.
I don't know. How do I? Well, I guess I can move you. Yeah.
Oh.
Where do you want me to put you?
I don't know. Just put me in one of them.
Room 1. Okay.
But yeah, Jennifer, I think the hardest part is finding the right time, because if you go too late, you lose half your younger ones, because we're a pack of kindergarten to 5th grade. And if you go too early, you lose the people that are traveling for the weekend. So ours have always been on Thursday nights. We continue that virtually. It's always Thursday nights. And we haven't had a lot of participation, but for the ones that are there, they're always there.
Krista, I have a question. The pack, like our pet, sometimes the parent is pretty busy at work, even on the weekend. So when we do the virtual activity, they usually just leave the kid, just like online class, they want a kid to do it their own thing. So you think that the planning is basically only for the kid, or the parent need to be participate?
Just the kid. The parent could be in the background, very similar to school. That's the way we run our digital den meetings as well. We assume the parents are busy and we're just meeting the kids' needs.
Okay, well, just take a few seconds for everyone to come back.
You're saying I don't have to sit there?
No, Emily, I free you.
Who's still in? We're just waiting for a couple people.
Room 4.
Room 4 is still not back. They're going to be forced to come back in 11 seconds.
All right.
Are they the rebels?
Apparently.
Yes.
What has been a manageable size for a virtual campout in all of your experiences?
So we have not done a virtual campout yet. I was originally planning to do a session on Cub Scout camping. And so they wanted me to make it be about a virtual campout for this. We've done the virtual campfires for our pack.
And tons of virtual
Meetings.
den meetings starting in March. One of our dens has been meeting pretty much, weekly since then, or every couple weeks. So we've got quite a bit of experience with that sort of format.
All right, is everybody back now?
I think everybody's back.
All right,
Yeah.
so how about, let's see, which group wants to go first? Go ahead and raise your hand if you want to go, or we'll just pick. How about group 1? So that was the group that had Bob and Cheeky and Deborah and Emily Fahara.
Bob has a note, so.
Okay.
Maybe Bob should be there.
But Emily had the idea, so Bob and Emily.
If you would allow me to share, I can show the notes that we took.
Sure. I'll make you a co-host.
Well, you don't have to do that, but whatever.
Yeah, no, you have to make him a co-host.
I have to make you co-host temporarily.
Okay.
I believe, yeah. I trust you.
Okay.
Don't make me regret, okay?
That's dangerous.
Right.
Okay, so this is, let me scoot this over. Okay, so this, you see in my document, it says opening ceremony at the top, is that right? Okay, so we kind of just came up with this kind of skeleton. We didn't have a whole lot of time, but we thought if we just started out with an opening ceremony, well, you always got to have your informational messages about what we're going to do tonight and, whatever else is coming up. And then start to play some games, do whatever games that you could either break that up into breakout rooms or just do it as the entire pack. And of course, that's your standard Kahoot and charades and whatever. And then after that, you set up your camp. And some people are going to camp outside, or some people are going to be in their living room with just pillows and blankets. But everybody sets up their camp. And the Weeblos that have to teach something, you can have your Weeblos then teach them how to set up a tent, so they can actually do an instruction on that. And then the scout goes and starts making dinner with their family, and everybody can set up their laptops in their kitchen, so everybody can be sharing their experience and show people what they're making for dinner. And then we all eat dinner together, and then we go into a campfire, and the campfire has the skits. We eat s'mores. And then once we do that, we go into the late night games, the late night being maybe 8 o'clock. And you could have breakout rooms where you have different specialties, like if a joke breakout room, a dance breakout room, just a chat room. You might have like a charades room, a Kahoot room, etc. And at some point you shut it down, you say it's time to go to bed. everybody climbs into their in their sleeping bags, and then we shut down the Zoom session. So that's what we got.
I want to point out Emily had this great thing of doing these kits for people for their s'mores, and I just loved it because like all my pictures never go back to any camp out. It's always kids eating s'mores every picture. So I loved she had these little pre-made kits for them, and then had somebody doing a ghost story, like kid-friendly ghost story. So I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was an awesome idea that Emily mentioned.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, group one. That was really
Okay.
awesome. I loved about that you had about the Weeblos teaching about setting up the tent and even setting up their campsite, even if it's in their living room. All right, now let's go to group two. So that was Jennifer, Karen, Ken, Con, and Kristen.
Who from
Kristen,
there?
do you want to go ahead and tell?
We were sharing ideas mostly, and because I've done a lot of virtual stuff, we were talking about the length a lot. We didn't get into planning the actual event, but a lot of us just wanted to chit chat about what things worked and what things didn't. And since I'm sort of the virtual person now, it's kind of fun to share ideas that way. And that's pretty much all we got.
Great, thank you, Kristen, and thank you, group two, for sharing that. Yeah, wish we had more time to discuss because it's always great to bounce ideas off of each other because we all have our experiences and that's how we grow. So now to group three. So that was Lynn, Marjorie, Miguel, and Papo. Do you have someone that's gonna?
Marjorie or Papo, you want to go? Or I wrote down notes. If you don't mind, I'll just go then.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, chime in anytime though, please. So the group decided to start the camp out around 3 the afternoon. We'd have an opening ceremony, and then the kids can pitch up their tent, kind of like a competition, see who can do it best or well. And then have a baking contest where the older kids can do the baking and the younger kids, say the Cub Scout age, can do the decorating. And then they'd cook, and there'd be a scavenger hunt to get the energy level even up higher, and then cook dinner and eat with their family, reconvene as a group for a campfire, have some songs and skits, and then bedtime. And then the next morning there'd be breakfast, some more cooking contests with that, and some group sharing just to get everyone's thoughts and their experiences. And then we'd adjourn, we'd end the experience from there. But it was nice to chat with everyone in the group.
Great, thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you, group two.
That was group three.
Oh, sorry, group three. So now group four. So that's Laura, Victoria, Wes, and Rahish.
Let's see. Maybe Rahish.
Was one of you going to be able to? Oh, okay.
Okay, I can share. We started like group two. We started sharing ideas mostly, but we at least formulated half of the plan. So we kind of decided, okay, it's going to be it's all Cub Scout. It's for the Cub Scouts. So we start on a Saturday afternoon and finish on a Sunday morning. We planned the first half of the session, which is I think Laura, I believe, she had like some great ideas on crafts. So we are going to start at the opening ceremony, and then we are going to do crafts, but it's a easy craft, so it's fun for the scouts, but at the same time take into account their attention span, so kind of they can do it for like 30 minutes or so, and then we have a breakout, some small break after that, and then in the middle we have like high energy activities, maybe like a scavenger hunt or some kind of a games. And then we go to like a cookout, like where older scouts or someone teaching the younger one a simple cookout session, and that they can practice with their family. And then in between, have breakout rooms where the dens can go and plan their skits and the songs. for the virtual, for the evening campfire thing. And then we have skits and songs, and that's where we stopped. We ran out of time after that.
We also added doing s'mores,
yeah.
giving them a kit with the graham cracker, the marshmallow, and the chocolate, but also with a candle, and that they can roast their marshmallows over the candle under parent supervision.
Great. You guys had a lot of ideas. And yeah, I love that the s'more kit idea. And the candle, I hadn't thought about that. So that's really awesome. We'll go ahead and open it up now. If you guys have any questions or if there's anything you want to share. So those of you that want to leave, because I know we're at 9 now, you guys can go ahead and go. But thank you guys so much for joining us, and feel free to stick around and to share or ask questions if you like.
I was just thinking, I'm making, one of the kits making a little, not a solar oven, but I don't know. I remember when at University Scouting, they showed different ovens that you can make, right? And like one was with a candle and a can, right? And just heating it up. That might be a method.
The buddy burners, right?
Yeah.
Buddy burners.
Yeah, like the buddy burners, right? Like that might be an activity where it's a survival activity, right? But then they can make a s'more on it as well. Just like, for the older kids anyway, right? I mean, for the older scouts, that could be really fun.
I think it'd be great even for the young ones, because if they have the parents helping them, sure, why not?
Right, and it's just a unique way of seeing it, right? Because a lot of people don't think of starters as ways of using for fires, so that could be a good, safe, contained, like maybe on a grill outside, contained area so that nobody gets hurt. But it's just, I don't know, I love the idea of combining those two things together. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Deborah. I guess there's also like the solar ovens too, that they could make if they didn't, for the young crowd. And like the tigers and lions and wolves, that might be a good activity for them.
We did that at camp one time, but we let it sit too long, and then it became chocolate soup. So that only forewarning, don't let it sit too long.
But I like the idea, if you're going to go to the effort of, getting some sort of a, kit to kids, why not go all out and you have your craft in the kit and you have like, the buddy burner in the kit. And so you're going to have that full day all set up where there's lots of really fun things to do. And that could even be those breakout groups where you could break out into the dens where they make a very den specific craft or den specific item
like
for their adventures.
A neckerchief decoration, right? You can do an inexpensive one, or if you have more money in your pack, you can do, a fancier leather type one. But there's like, I don't know, Cindy had billions of ideas of different neckerchief slide things that are easy to throw together as little craft things, especially for the younger scouts.
So I have a couple of questions. So do you have any suggestions? So our pack is a large pack, 65 scouts. The virtual campout that we did it for like 3 to 4 hour session, right? Because it's one session. We've ended it with the movie night, but we did some games and songs and skits. But it's one session. We are able to keep intact. We are worried, like our leaders, that if you have like multiple sessions, like where in the break in the middle, that we might lose the scouts. How do you keep the scouts who come to that first session excited, like with maximum attendance, continue to come to the second and third? Any ideas on that?
High energy activities. Find out what your scouts like the most, and then have that kind of activity to bring them back.
Also, one thing I found was that like having different options and letting the scouts choose what they want to go to. So you could potentially, if you had, you could have more than one Zoom session going on at the same time, so that the scouts could choose the things that they're interested in attending. And just definitely keeping it really exciting and really high energy. To keep their interest, but I reached out on the Cub Scout Volunteers Facebook group, and like most people that had done the campouts, the virtual campouts, recommended having not having the stream going the whole time, but that's definitely an option if you have the the premium account where you could do that.
You want to keep them engaged, having them participate, also incorporating stories. As I planned our district's day camp in July, Prior to that, I also attended several different sessions that American Camping Association put on and a bunch of others, talking about how to do the virtual day camps, virtual learning. And the biggest thing that came across was making sure you have activities that the kids are actually doing rather than sitting watching the screen. So you want to keep them engaged, involved.
For sure. And then, you know, as much as you can make the experience interactive, where they're actually having an opportunity to speak and answer questions, will definitely keep their engagement level higher. There was a question in the chat box about whether Blue trained leaders were still required for virtual campout. So that's a really great question. I will have to find out about that.
I kind of wonder if the Blue is related to insurance concerns. I mean, I don't know if insurance concerns really apply to virtual, but yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
It's not just the insurance part.
Okay.
It's making sure that you have a program planned that will meet the needs of everybody who's attending, not just the Cub Scouts, but the siblings as well. So that if you don't have a well-planned program, then it's not going to work. And if it were a outdoor camp out where everybody could be together, if it failed, then you're going to lose your scouts wanting to be involved. So a lot of it has to do with actual planning as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, but great question.
But yeah, you definitely need to have, you know, your YPT trained leaders and 2D leadership throughout the whole, you know, in breakout rooms. And, you know, so that there's never a time where you're one-on-one with a scout or,
and not one-on-one chatting too, for anybody who doesn't, I assume everybody knows, but just saying.
Yeah.
That.
Thanks, Deborah. Was there any other questions in the chat that you saw, Jason?
Let's see. There's people mentioned some things about, like, there's playcharades.net, and Bob and Deborah mentioned Viva Video and Ecamm Live or some tools you could use for making videos or slideshows.
Yeah.
There's a question about Halloween here.
I think Lynn asked about Halloween. Yeah, definitely, you know, having them in costume, doing Halloween themed crafts or some kind of edible craft might be fun for Halloween. Maybe telling some kind of Halloween story, some sort of a little spooky story. Does anybody else have any ideas?
Marshmallow towers, or building something like with those what do you call it? Oh my gosh, Q-tips, like Q-tip painting or Q-tip decorations of some sort.
I've just gone ahead and shared a link of a document that I started a couple weeks ago. I was racking my brain for what we could do socially distanced in person as well as actual fun over Zoom. And it's just a bunch of things that I've been collecting, and I've been sharing it with all sorts of random people. So why not here too? And then there is a company, and I have several of their games on here. I think it's called Asphalt Green, and they do like recess type of activities, but they've renovated a lot of their activities for socially distanced in person. And they actually have these recreation teachers that will, in a video, tell you this is how you introduce the activity, this is how you teach the activity, and it's really good. And even though these activities are supposed to be socially distanced in person, many of them could still be done in a video conference setting. So anyway, use the link if it's helpful. If not, ignore it.
On that note, if anybody needs adaptive like stuff for disability awareness, Access Dance Studios has integrated dance classes of able-bodied and disabled people. And I know it grabbed my son's attention when he was, it grabbed his attention because he wanted to learn how to do wheelies. But he grabbed his attention because there was hip hop dancing, and he really thought it was cool. And this is a troupe that they tour internationally, but right now they're based in the Bay Area, and they're doing a lot of free classes or donation classes. And he's joined me for more than 3 or 4 sessions of it. So it might be a fun way of bringing in disability awareness, as well as actually, which is like an achievement, part of an achievement, right? And having, you know, a fun dance competition.
Great, thanks, Deborah. Do you think you could just type the name of that in the chat?
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
If they have a wheelchair, it's even more fun to get one to do wheelies or one-handed wheelies.
We had recommendations on how to run bingo at a PAC meeting.
Does anybody, Wes wanted to know about how to run bingo at a PAC meeting. So I'm assuming that you could potentially email like a template to
What I did,
ahead of time. Go ahead, Deborah.
I actually found it. So I did as a last minute thing because we needed a quick project for a PAC meeting. On Etsy, the person had 20 cards, already pre-designed cards. I just had to break them up into individual slides because like she had it all as in one unit. And then I sent out an individual card to each scout that was registered. And then I called out the different cards, and they were all Cub Scout related. So this was a particular one that was really great because it was like sleeping bag, a tent, Eagle Scout badge, right? So they all had different things to do. And it kept, I'm telling you, I have a pack that has a lot of kids that with special needs. They were all attentive, and I was like, oh my God, this game is going on for a really long time now. But they were all really into it and cheering when their dad won one of the dads. I mean, they were just really, really into it. I was really surprised, but it was an easy way to do that. And then for the Lions last week or so, I made a small one. Like you can virtually, there's a bunch of websites that will do a generator for you to make cards for you different separately. But because I was doing it in Photoshop, I used a generator to tell me which way to set the cards up. And then I had like 20 different individual cards, and we sent those out individually. And
so did you send those out via email or hard copies? Okay.
I sent it out via email.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's any recommended, I guess, software or websites that generate.
Yeah, that website. There's a couple of virtual bingo websites that will let you create the cards there, and then you get a link, and you just give the link to people, and they can just go on and do it. The benefit of doing it the way that I did it was only because it was images for the younger kids to be able to follow, and it made it more fun, pretty.
Yeah, I think some of the sites, because I was looking for Halloween themed on bingo, because I think one of the sites offers those types of templates too, where they generate a Halloween themed template where you send the families the URL, they click on it, and it automatically generates a Halloween themed card. So I'm looking for something like that. I did some searches, and I think I
have to say for and I'm going to brag because I'm very proud of my son's troop patrol. They did a virtual program in Minecraft for the Cub Scouts, and they created a archery range. They created boat racing. They created a snowball range. They're going to have, the next time they build it, they're going to make it so they have a competition for people to build tents and gather all those belongings that they need for building a fire. So these boys, they really spent a lot of time on it. But it was great because the Boy Scouts created it for the Cub Scouts, and the Cub Scouts got to do some of the things that they would normally do. In fact, I had one range master call me and go, Deb, you forgot to tell them to put the 3 always on the range. I'm like, oops. But so I was that somebody's paying attention to all those little details, but they were, and it was great to see the older scouts get really involved with something for the younger scouts, and it was great to hear the younger scouts get involved. I mean, something I learned at one of the commissioner training things was that success is the kids having fun and the scouts having fun, right, and interacting and having fun together, so they want to come back. And it ended. There were problems, there were challenges, and they're redoing things, but they had fun and they want more. So it ended up, really becoming its concept, and just making sure they have fun is probably the number one. Obviously, safety and fun. And it sounds like Emily's got a lot of really good lists for everybody. So, one other thing too is like scavenger hunt using the letters of the Scout Law, and you can have competitions between the different ranks.
Well, I'm going to be adding your ideas to my list.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emily, for sharing all those resources you found. Yeah, it's like it's sort of been hard because this is just new for all of us, and there hasn't been too many opportunities to like share ideas. So I'm really glad that we were able to come together and do this. Like, I know just the idea of having a virtual campout has been sort of daunting, which is why our PAC hasn't done it yet.
We haven't yet either. We want to, and
well, The reason why we did it is because, you know, we had this fall trip scheduled, it got canceled. And we're like, we already had the time scheduled anyway. Oh, let's just do it. And this could totally flop and fall on our face. And we just basically said, what would we normally do? How can we do it over a video chat? Let's give it a try and see what happens, you know? And so our expectations weren't too high, and therefore we exceeded them very easily.
But you had great ideas though, and you had to give yourself credit for that. That had great ideas, like the kid out. Those are great ideas, and we've been trying to come up with some things. And our bingo night was literally the first thing we've had kids come to in 6 months. Virtually.
That's a great idea.
Some of us, you know, it was supposed to be recruitment night, and I realized that one person signed up, which is why I went to run and grab something else to do during the meeting. Because we have 9 kids scouts coming that we haven't seen in 6 months, and we have one new one. What do we do? You know, and that's why I like grabbed the bingo really quickly, because I just didn't know what else to do. And you know, kids do Quizlets and Kahoots all day, and they do that in school. So I wanted something slightly different. I mean, not that they're bad, because I do use them during merit badge things, but I just thought, you know, they liked it.
But I think that's really important to remember, that it is in school, and it's, you know, the kids are online for so long. We want to do something that's slightly, they're allowed more freedom to interact than they would in a normal school session, anytime you can offer that.
Well, that's what's fun about the Pictionary, right? If you give the ability to draw on the whiteboard, which everybody shares, they love it, because they love that ability to draw, and they love that that's not something they're normally allowed to do, right? So being allowed to draw is something fun, even if it doesn't come. I mean, you can't necessarily tell what it is over time, because it's kind of hard to draw well with a mouse. But it's possible. It's doable. I've done it with adults anyway.
Now, question: when you were doing the bingo, you know, like prizes for bingo. Usually, when you play bingo, you have silly little prizes. Did you even bother?
Well, I wasn't going to, because it was a last-minute decision to do bingo.
Yeah.
But one of the other leaders jumped in, and he jumped on it, and it was his den that won, and he said, "I got a prize for you," and he was on it like in a second. I mean,
so like, was he like, "I'll deliver them," or he had something that could be sent online?
He said, "I'll deliver something. I'll deliver you a little something." And
okay.
So, I mean, I would have if I had thought of it earlier, but I didn't. You know, I mean, we had talked about the concept of having little prizes. We also talked about the concept of having little prizes and raffles for anybody who comes to meetings, because we're really struggling right now for our Cub Scout pack. I mean, we were struggling before COVID, and then after COVID, we're really struggling. I think only my son and one other scout have gone to virtual meetings, so we're really struggling. And so I'm like, okay, let's do some prizes. Let's do some leatherworking kits. Let's give some, you know, raffles here for whatever we can. But yeah, so one of the other leaders had a prize, which was great. You know, like I have a bunch of little kits at home here that I could give out as prizes as well. So I mean, I think it's a good idea to have a prize. I think the kids love that concept, and like, even if they just get, you've won, and you know, ticket, like a picture of a ticket, you've won, and then they get something delivered to them another time, they feel that recognition, immediate recognition, and then they know they're going to have something, you know.
Got it.
So, and I think the other thing I didn't mention that I thought might be fun, and I have to figure this out, because I'm trying to figure this out for District Dinner too, is doing, you know how Facebook has a banner frame things? I really can't speak at nighttime. It's brain does not comprehend. But those picture frames they have when you post on social media, they have these virtual. A lot of places have these virtual photo booths now, but they're crazy expensive. So I did find a couple of sites that have virtual, that they make the frames. So we can make our own frames. That could be a really cool way of bringing the scouts to, like, if they go on a scavenger hunt, or if they go and find those kindness rocks, or whatever project you might have for that outing, right? And they come back, they can take a picture of themselves and put that frame around it. Whether they put it on social media or not, they could just be a frame that they have to do. And that'd be kind of a cool slideshow. Like, you know, I found this, or I found that. Or if you have a relay, or you have a competition for, you know, geocaching, and you have first, second, third place, right? They can have a frames for first, second, and third place. Something I was thinking.
You know, something I saw, a child I know who comes here, does a school here, his teacher did this as a prize, and I think it's brilliant, and I think it would work in Scouts, is when a few kids had won something for doing some homework, whatever, their reward that day was to give themselves their own nickname on Zoom.
Oh yeah.
So we're all over, you have to have your name, and they got to give themselves a nickname. It costs nothing, it's whatever, but the kids are like, it's the greatest thing ever. And that would be fun in a den meeting, that like, you won this thing, you get to call yourself Mr. Pumpkinhead. or whatever.
Because I was watching Ethan
Oh
the
yeah,
other day.
backgrounds.
He was like so excited for doing this math thing and he literally played another 15 minutes to get the virtual background that he wanted. Like and I was fighting with him to do his math work every single day. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is awesome virtual background if I get 10 more points. So he literally sat there, my child who has ADHD and does not like math and did not like to play the game to get the virtual background. So
you could almost extend that to, you could create backgrounds and send them to kids as rewards. So let's say they got the top 10 or whatever, they could have it for that next meeting.
Right.
And then they're not allowed to use it the next time, but somebody else gets it.
Yeah.
And you could have this background, Star Scout trade around the group.
Yeah, it doesn't cost us anything to do that, but the kids love it.
It's the recognition.
And it's also, by the way,
love that.
really good recognition. So we were Wes, Bob and I were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, is how do we reward our special needs scouts that do an amazing job, right? And tried really hard. Like I really, during my first line meeting, I still wanted to go through the computer and like give this poor kid a high five because he was trying so hard and he was a kindergartner and he, like, in the beginning of the meeting, you could tell the noise and the sound was not working for him, but he was trying and he stuck with it. And all I want to do is like give a high five to him through the computer, and I couldn't, right? And so I'm like, how do I reward somebody who tried and put that effort in? So that background would also be, a good effort or a hard worker or just something to recognize someone who's worked really hard. I mean, and I know that matters because I think my first year in Scouts, Cub Camp, I had a scout that I gave an award to at the end of camp when I was first range master, and he had never won an award. And he was autistic and auditory sensory. And so the first day he was upset, and he brought his earmuffs with him the next day. And by the last day, he was volunteering to go first and took his earmuffs off. So I'm like, all right, you're like most improved. That's it, And his mom was going to leave early, and I was like, no, I got an award for him. They stayed because she said he had never won an award, And so I do think that background or something like that is a really cool way of rewarding scouts that do well. I love it.
I just wanted to mention, so like, I think, for a lot of kids, especially those with special needs, they haven't really been able to like just have their like social interaction needs met because they might have a harder time making friends, or they might not have, communicating virtually can even be even more challenging than in person. So definitely providing opportunities and for them to interact with different other scouts, like with those breakout rooms, I think is super good. Not always having them with the same other scouts, just to sort of give them an opportunity to get that social interaction.
I think that's really important, because they lack it, especially if somebody who's had, they've had therapies, right? Like if you're getting special needs treatment, like if not treatments, but if you're getting therapy in school and you were getting it and you had somebody working with you and now you don't, you lose out a lot. I think that's a really great idea. And I guess from watching the kids, seeing they're not getting enough social time, right? And I don't mean like computer time, but they're not getting enough down interactive time. And I think that giving these kids the interactive time is pretty important.
Yeah, and it totally depends on their classes. Like my two kids, like their teachers run the classes, pretty differently, where my second grader, the kids don't really have any opportunity to speak the whole day, which is, really tough, especially for second graders. So yeah, definitely some, depending on the class that they have for school, they just might not really be having much interaction at all.
Yeah, even school, they only get a Friday for like half an hour. That's it. And there's no interactive they're not allowed to chat to each other. They're monitored because they use their Chromebooks with the gateway thing. So they're monitored if they're on Zoom or if they're on anything else open than Zoom, we know about it. And they don't get to talk, and they don't get to talk through Google Hangout or anything like that. So they're definitely missing, even during break time, and not getting that social interaction. And I've seen that definitely a challenge for all of them, I think. But
all right, so we have to go. Our kids got to get our kids to bed. They're still awake. So thank you everyone so much for joining this session, and I hope you were able to get something out of it. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences, and that made it even better. So
thank you.
I hope you guys have a good night, and hopefully see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I lost.